Right.
Oh, so today then, Pete, we're going to talk about farming.
Fair enough.
And you're a farming family. Tell me about your...
My grandparents were, yeah.
Who were they?
Albert and Ruth Cooper.
Yes.
He worked for Laurie Franklin. He was living in Walnut Tree Cottages.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, general farm labourer.
Yes.
And, well, till he passed away, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about your other granddad?
Oh, Ernie, he was on the farm, then he went to work for National Buses.
Oh, yeah.
Cleaning them or doing things or in the garage and different stuff.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a farmer like my other granddad. No.
So which farm did Ernie work for then?
Ernie?
Yes.
No, he was at Franklin years ago.
Oh, you were,
not for long.
No, not for long.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about your dad?
He started off with Bob Davis, then Rectory Farm. Yeah.
Right. Where was he living then?
He was living at 10 Steps.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a tied cottage, was it?
No, because well, all my granddad, when he lived there, they moved from Hull to 10 Steps because two of his brothers lived the other side of the road, in the cottages there.
Yes.
Which belonged to the Lake family, but nothing ever come to Ernie's side of it, I'm afraid.
No. And so, what did he do for Bob Davis, Stan?
He was cowman.
Oh, he was cowman.
Cowman, milking and everything, yeah.
So that was like a dairy herd they had?
Yeah. And as soon as you finish milking and cleaning them out, you'll be back on the fields with everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you come, every time they wanted milking, that was it.
Where did they graze then, those milkers?
Oh, they was in Davis's Meadow, Parksfield, Lintsport, Cat's Brains, that was all Driftway, that was all meadow then, you see.
And what, they had to bring them in every day to the farm to milk?
Oh yes, yeah.
What?
Not once a day they used to do them then, that not like it is nowadays where they pump them up and yeah, just once a day. And
right.
they sold round the village. And,
yeah. And what about you then? How did you start? Where did you...
Well, I started with my dad down Laurie Franklin's old boys in harvest, shocking and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Can you tell me about the harvest then? And first of all, tell me about the horses. You're telling me that they had horses down at...
They used to be about a dozen or 15 down Laurie Franklin's, yeah.
Who looked after the horses?
Well, John South and Osman, yeah. John South was the main man. He used to look after Laurie Franklin and clean all his boots every day before he come out and started work. And yeah, John South, big fella.
Where did he live then?
He lived down what we call Puddingbag Alley. I don't know the name of the cottages, but because they reckon all the lines at the back was all got pudding claws or nappies. That's what they're called Puddingbag Alley for. That's got a proper name, I suppose.
Yeah, end of West Lane now.
Yeah, West Lane. I think there's about 8 or 10 cottages there.
Yeah, that's right.
I used to know everybody in them at one time, but of course, then some have been knocked into 2 now, and
Yeah.
Tomlins used to own most of them. Used to have the shop.
Yes, they had the shop at the end, didn't they?
Yeah.
And so, what did Mr. South do? He got there early in the morning.
Lorries, blokes, winter and summer always used to start at 7 o'clock. So John South would be there sort of half as 5, 6, or any time before that to get everything ready. Without as light or without as dark, he was always down there first. And
so, what did he have to do with the horses then?
Well, he used to get them all ready for what he's going to do, get them out and harness them all up and make sure those all right and make sure the shoes are all right, the off shoes and yeah.
So with the horses then, how many horses did you have for different pieces of equipment?
Well, they all had the teams of horses. You'd have 2 for ploughing. I mean, when they used to plough Recklin's piece and long shot, I mean there'd probably be 2 or 3 teams of horses in there, following each other around. To get over the ground, yeah. I mean, the tractor now would do it in a day or so, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Where they used to take them days on end, to knock it about, ready for...
So did the horse plough all day long, or did he...
Oh, no, you owned so many hours, and they'd have a break when you did. When we was old boys, they used to put the old nose bag on them, and they'd have a feed like the old men. Yeah. And a drink, and then off you go again till dinner.
What about the feed that they gave the horses and things?
Well, it's sort of like chaff and nuts and all sorts of things. Oh, they was well looked after.
Were they bought in the feed? Did they buy the feed in, or is?
Oh no, old Jim Newby used to grind it all up. He was the cowman and pigman. Yeah, it was all ground, oats, crushed oats and barley and wheat. Laurie used to, of course, the hay they used to grow in the hay time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they were well looked after.
Yeah. Yes.
Because they got you the living, didn't they?
Yes.
And if you didn't fill them up, they you know, you got to look after them.
Yeah. How many horses do you think he'd have
Oh, I think
then?
there used to be about 15 or 18 there at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of them.
Yes.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
sort of were they? Cart horses or?
Oh, they was sort of Suffolk colt. And then you got the Belgium type as well as the other sort of.
The Clydesdales.
That's it, the Clydesdales. Yeah, big old, but you know, crosses and everything. But they was always there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to love to see them as old boys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you were telling me that you did shocking. What was
that
this
was
harvest?
when, oh yeah, when the binder used to shoot the sheaves out onto the ground, old boys used to go for shocking. Used to stand them up. They used to be Barry Simmons, poor boy. Bloke ain't with us no more, is he, Barry?
No.
And there used to be 3 or 4 of us. He used to tell us what till we got the hang of it, and we used to start to do all day long. He used to have long sleeve shirts on because they used to be thistles. Mum used to make sure of that, you know, because you scratch your blooming arms to bits. Used to stand them up and wait till you come to take them and put them in the.
So what happened
into the stack.
What happened after? So you got the shocks all standing in sort of.
In the fields, then they used to go around and pick them up, and they used to make the stacks with them.
So how did all that work out then? How did they make a stack?
Well, there'd be teams of horses going round. They used to get the pitchforks and load them up and take them back and build the stacks. Sometimes they had elevators. Well, I did have elevators, big old spikes on which they used to chuck the sheaves in, and they used to be on top of it, working their way round, so they got up there to about 20 or 30 foot, or probably higher, and big old pole ladders they used to use to go up and down.
Where was the rickyard then?
Right opposite Eye Down, the drive. That used to be called, the field's called Willow Piece, but there used to be sort of half acre there where they used to put all the stacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said the stacks were built round.
Built round, and they used to thick them in, you know, to keep the wet out. And as soon as they was all done, if the corn started making a bit of money, you know, after harvest, then they used to bring the machine in, the dressing machine, and start, you know, start doing that.
Who did the thatching of the ricks then?
Derek Cook used to do a lot of it, and there's a bloke named one of the owners. He used to have a nickname which I can't think, but he was the main man. He taught Derek how to thick, and another good bloke was thicking. Was then the other end of his was Joe Thrussell. He was a dab hand at that, and of course he wasn't half the ages of the rest of them, but he soon took it up.
So what did they do? Why did they thatch it then?
Well, to keep the wet out, you see. They used to have a good old pitch on them, so the rain used to run off on it. And of course, then when it's time to come, you know, get the threshing machines out to get the corn out of it, you know.
Yeah. So what's about the threshing machines? Was this done outside?
Oh, that was all done outside. They used to have a tractor which was used to run the belt to drive the threshing machine. They used to throw it in one end, and of course all the straw and the chaff and cavings used to come out, and the corn used to come out the other.
Oh, right.
There used to be a couple of people bagging it up, because then that was a couple of underweight sacks, you see.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. And all the old straw and cavings they used to put up and rebuild and ready for littering up and cattle feed.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, so they used to keep them.
Nothing was wasted.
They made their own cattle feed.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And what about this sacks? You were telling me about somebody whose job it was to keep the sacks right.
Oh, that was old Bob Miles. He used to live in the cottages near the old Fox pub. He used to sit there winter upon winter in the big old barn with a big old sack needle, darning all the holes up where the old rats used to chew through them, you see. As soon as you started shifting sacks that time of day, you used to have to tie your old trousers up, because if any old rats come along and went up your trousers, you could be in trouble. And the old boys would tell you, you'd always have gaiters on or top, yeah, because everything was in sacks, and that all got to be on sack barrows, put onto trailers or lorries, ready to go away, you know, been sold. Yeah.
And when they were in sacks, where were they storing it then?
In good dry barns, you know, yeah.
All around Franklin's farm?
Oh, around Franklin's, yeah.
And did Mr. Franklin supervise all this, or did he come round?
No, that was, well, he'd come round and see what things were going, but John South and Arthur Carter was the main people.
Well, who was that, Arthur Carter?
He used to do the mechanical side of it, you know, when the tractors first started coming about.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Any broken machinery or bit of welding they used to do, or Arthur was the boy.
Did he?
He in the cottage where my granddad Albert come out of when he moved down to poppy fields.
Ah,
When he left the farm, you see, 'cause
Yes.
he died soon after that. Anyway, Arthur Carter then moved in, and he was there up until end of the middle of the 60s, I should think, when he packed up.
yeah.
Or he lived there after he retired because he done Laurie such a good turn
Yeah.
over the years.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, lovely chap. I used to get on well with him as an old boy.
Who lived in the other parts of those cottages then? At the same when Arthur was there.
That time of day, I know Mick Mason did when he first got married, but though he didn't work on it because Bill Mason, his dad, used to work for Laurie at the time, and I suppose Laurie, being that had been a family concern, Mick and June, that's when they first got married. That's where they first lived.
Ah, right.
Yeah. And after then, you see, a lot of it was all sold up, and
Yes.
different, but they were sold off a lot. They say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about, you've told me about cereals and things. What about the sheep? Did Laurie Franklin have sheep?
Oh yeah, he had. Perce Collins was a shepherd. He lived down Bury End.
Yes.
All the if he'd walked up Wood Lane that time of day, all down field, all the lime pits, 18 acres. That was all grazing, all grass for sheep. And Laurie used to have a lot of his sheep over the other side of Exton Road, all round the Deacon Hills. And that's where Perce Collins used to have his hut. He used to live out there while the lambing was going on, you see. And that's how they went on.
So really the sheep were out on the fields all the time.
Yeah,
Where did they come into? If they came in to be sheared, where did they come to?
They used to bring them up to high down, to dip them, and to shear them, and to wean them. Take the lambs away from the ewes and whatever, you know, and then they used to shear them and send them back up the hills with the tups ready to start again.
How were they sheared then? Who did the shearing?
That was all by hand that time of day. There wasn't no plugging in and bzzz, you know, as all hand job as we call it. That's got
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So did the local people do it?
Well,
or?
some used to try, but people used to come in to do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perce used to do it as well as Clive Taylor. I think he used to do a bit of shearing or try to.
Yeah.
I won't see him lately. I should ask him next time I see him.
So when they came into the yard, were they sort of, how were they? They weren't in metal fences or
No,
anything?
they was all hurdles. They was all penned outside. You know, they used to get the lambs in the hurdles. As my old dad used to say, hurdle bumpers. That's what he called a bit of lamb. We got a bit of a hurdle bumper today, boy. You know, a bit of lamb, bit of meat. And they used to pen them off, separate them. I like how they did. You know, 'cause the mums calling the young uns, and of course they used to take them away, shear them, and ready to go back up the hills where the poor lambs used to go for spring lamb. And a lot were sold for other people used to buy them for rear, you know, to bring it on for breeding again, and that's how they went on.
Did they make their own hurdles?
No, they didn't, but they was mostly come up from Norfolk and different places, you know.
Yeah.
But once you got them, you used to stack them and keep them dry. They used to last for years.
Yeah.
Hurdles.
They used to make the hurdles though, didn't
Oh
they?
yeah, it was all made. Yeah.
And what about, you were mainly involved with the pigs, you told me?
Oh yeah, with Arthur Newbury, he used to be the pigman.
Yes.
Well, the stockman as well as the cattle. Yeah.
Where was he living then?
He was living round Bury End, right next to Perce Collins.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Tide cottages.
Yeah.
And where were the pigs kept then?
The pigs were up on what we call the Marm, right next to it. Down as you got the drive, that's the field on the left hand side. That was all fenced in right until Soda's Lane. There was getting on for 30 odd 40 acres there, I suppose.
How many pigs did they have
Oh,
then?
they used to be about 100, 150, I think, at one time.
And did they live out in the field?
No, they used to have the old Nissan sort of galvanised huts for them, and we used to go there twice a day to feed them, which was a bit of a job, because there used to be 8 big wooden barrels on a little low trailer, which used to fill up with water and put all the meal in and stir it round, and off we used to go.
Where did you get the meal from then? How did
That was all ground up at the back of the farm. There used to be a big old barn there. We've got all the grinding stuff in. You know, that was one be electric that time of day. You know, but years before that, you used to have to put a belt on a tractor to do it all. That's when the electric started coming into it more. You know.
Was that down Franklin's farm
that was
or
all
up at High Down?
No, that was all around Franklin's farm. Yeah, they used to crush the oats there, and another big machine for all the mangles, all the wazzles they used to call them, for the cattle. We used to put that in and wind the handle. They used to slice them and cut them up, mix it all, you know, with the oats, and that was all good feed for them, as well as out on the grasslands, you see.
Yes, yeah. And what about when they had to go to market? How did they get them to market?
Well, some people had lorries in to bring, but Laurie used to have his own sort of wagon where he used to take sheep and pigs. Yeah, a built-up sort of trailer he used to take to Hitchin Market.
How did they stop them getting out?
Oh no, that's all built in slatted, you know. So yeah.
And what did you call them? Cops.
Well, that sort of copses all round. Look, you've got the copses at the end of the trailer, but similar sort of thing all round the side of a trailer. You know, let the air through, and yeah. They used to have their own sort of trailer to take the pigs and the sheep and the cattle.
So when they went into Hitchin, into the market, where was the pig market then?
That was back of the Cock Hotel, and the other side of the road, where in between the fire station and what used to be the hospital. That was all open ground there, all open, you know, for the cattle and pigs, sheep.
Yeah.
But that used to be mainly the pens used to be back of the Cock Hotel.
And was that Jackson's auctioneers?
Jackson's for the cattle and everywhere. And of course, end of the day, they used to have to get the hoses out and brush it all up. You know, been there all day, all the mess and the muck, and most of the poultry and the other stuff used to be the other side of the road. You know.
Yes.
Pigeons, chickens, anything, geese, ducks. Yeah, it's sort of the poultry side of it. Yeah.
Was there a slaughterhouse in the village at all?
Yeah, that was Harry Davis, right next to the pond. He used to do mainly pigs in there. Yeah.
And he was a butcher as well, was he?
He was a butcher, Harry Davis, because Milner, his son, took it over. That was always the butchers. Yeah, you get good stuff there one time. Yeah.
And what about cattle at Franklin's farm?
Oh, they used to have cattle. Yeah, what they call store cattle. You know, they used to buy them in as calves and run them in the berry and all the meadows around and sell them off when they got big enough.
Yeah. What sort of cattle were they then?
Oh, they used to have mostly Aberdeen Angus, which are the black ones. Yeah, that was the thing of the day then. Yeah.
And who looked after the cattle?
Well, that was all part of Arthur Newbury's job, the stockman.
You were telling me his nickname.
Duke, we used to call him, yeah. And my other job was him. I was always going down Tomlin's to get him 20 players on the account. He used to pay up when he got the money. I used to say 20, because he always used to give me a couple. I didn't mind that.
Where did Duke Newbury live then?
No, he lived round Bury End, yeah.
Oh, he was up there
next
too?
to Perce.
Yeah.
Him and Wynne, his missus, and they had a daughter called Beverly, which should be about the same age as his sister. Pretty little girl she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you work for anybody else? You know, as a teenager.
Tom Thrussell down at Wright's farm.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Was it just Tom on his own, or?
No, that's Tom and Joe, the brothers, and they used to be next to Len Whedon or Pim Whedon.
Yes.
Down at Wright's farm. And
where were Tom and Joe living then?
They was living in Cromwell Terrace, you know, where there used to be the post office and the house, which still is. And they used to have the bedrooms above that, because there's a big old family of them.
So then he's still
about 8 or 10 on them, I suppose.
He still lived with his mum and dad?
Yeah. Right until the end he was, yeah.
So what sort of farm was that then? Was that a big farm like Franklin's?
He used to have pigs and a little bit of cereal and chickens, and his favourite hobby was pigeons. Well, yeah.
So what
he had a pigeon loft down there for racing, and another one for all the fancy pigeons.
What were they?
Medinas, tipplers, topplers, all sorts. He used to go all over the place picking them up or send for them, yeah.
Did they race?
No, Tom never raced. That just more of a hobby for him, you know. Yeah.
You bred them?
Yeah. Because we used to get strays come in, you know, which we used to hold back and breed and that, yeah, because I used to have pigeons up Pollard's Way when I lived up there, you see, yeah.
You like pigeon racing?
Oh, I love pigeons. I even had them at the cottage where when I first got married and the kids were first brought up. You know? Yeah.
When you were racing them, then what did you take them somewhere or?
I used to just to take them. I used to take them up to Upper Stondon or along there to the water tower. So they got a bit of a when they're flying about, you know. Then I used to take them to Puddock's Hill where they got another similar water tower in Langford. So as soon as they got in the area, you know, they used to know where they was going, like, you know. And a mate of mine who used to work for James's, he was often going right up north to Yorkshire, different places, Ron Crawley. I used to put 2 or 3 in a basket, sometimes that you'd never see them no more. The odd one that used to come back, you know, just for a laugh, just for a crack, really.
So when you were young and you worked for Tom, you said he did all sorts of things. Where did you say he kept chickens and things?
All back of the farm, back of down Wright's farm.
And did he have anything off Little Lane?
Oh yeah, Little Lane where Joe lived. He had a static van up there when he first got married. He used to run a few pigs up there, and where the allotments are now, and chickens and stuff. Yeah, like a little small holding.
Yeah.
There
was like county council sort of.
Oh yeah, that was that time of day. That was yeah.
And what did you do with Tom Trussell then?
He was the first man to learn me to plough.
Well, how was that then?
Yeah, with a what? He had 2 Fergies, and I used to follow him around along the road, which you shouldn't have done. You know, just down. First field I learnt to plough in was they call the Poikle. Lovely square field, about 8 or 9 acres, I suppose. I just used to follow him until I got the hang of it, and then in the end I could do it myself. Like, you know.
Was it difficult?
No, not really. You know, once you got used to it, you used to set a ridge. You know, you got all the plough there just to build it up either side. Then you went round and round, then you set another one, and when you come to join it up, that's when you sort of plough the furrow. You know, where you got a dip in the field, that's where you finished it. You know, then you'd plough the headlands round, either cast it out or bring it into the ditch or the hedge. You know, yeah.
And when you'd ploughed, then what was he going to sow in there then?
Oh, that'd be cereal, wheat, barley, or whatever. Oats they used to grow then that time of day for crushing, you know, for cattle and for pigs. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all cereal. There wasn't no beans and rape that time of day, you see.
No.
No.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Oh, that's a pleasure.